Good evening and welcome to another episode of VI Voices. I'm Emile Henderson III, along with my co-panelists, Boyd Anthony McFarland and Clint D.W. Ferris. Tonight, Natalie is off tonight, so you will see her on the next episode when we come back on Wednesday evening. But we are here and on the eve of election 2012, excuse me. And it's going to be a very interesting election night. I will say, I'll be very honest, I'm extremely excited that it's finally coming to an end.
Amen.
Because I am mentally drained with this election.
Very much so.
And the other part of me is anxious. And so like I'm nervous. My chest hurts, my stomach hurts because I'm just, I don't know if they're going to get it wrong in the United States. We can't vote for the president. And I just need America to go out there. But having those Tea Partiers and those Republicans with their voter suppression is really scaring me about how this will turn out.
Correct.
If we have another Florida 2000. What are your thoughts on that?
It's likely because I think Sandy, through the effects of Sandy, is now making it very possible that voter fraud can take place in the Northeast, in New Jersey, in New York, and you're talking about sending in, you can vote by fax, you can vote by emails. Those systems can be corrupted. And those are the things that I think about. And then you're talking about, look at Ohio. Some of the things Ohio is doing right now. Ohio is talking about the voters have to validate their own ID. Why shouldn't be that should be a poll worker? Why are you asking me to validate my own ID? The information and my provisional ballot should be inputted by a worker to say yes, I meet the standards. And I think that is going to undermine the process as well in Ohio.
And the fact that Tang Romney is part owner of the machines that they're using in Ohio. I'm not going to say that he's done anything untoward because I don't know, but it just makes me a little uncomfortable. But what made me really uncomfortable this weekend was the fact that in Florida, they have early voting in Florida. And Governor, what's his name? Rick something. I tried to forget him. He would not sign the executive order to extend the time to allow those who have been waiting 4, 5, 6 hours to be able to vote. Even because at that time the polls closed at 7 o'clock or something, but they had been there from like 12, 11 o'clock in the day. And so he wouldn't allow them to continue on. However, thankfully, the elections people for those districts decided to just stay anyway and allow them to take their votes. And so my thing is, why would you make it so difficult for people in the United States to exercise their democratic right to vote, but you would go to fight other nations because you feel that they are not doing what they're supposed to do to allow a full democratic process?
But that is the hypocrisy within our governmental system here in the United States of America. And you continue to see where you continue to use the divisions between state and national government, and they use that to at times disenfranchise the voter. And take a good look at how Florida is doing it. Is that early voting? People go in the line now. That means you're a voter. You already work minimum wage. You now have to sacrifice a day to go and vote, and that one day paycheck is very valuable to you. So now they're actually using economics to also disenfranchise you.
Well,
so you have to now make a choice.
What's also happening is the fact that there's a study that a lot of minorities exercise the early voting option because of what you just said. So they don't have to miss time from work. They'll go on the weekend and stay there the entire time. Luckily, these people are not leaving the line. And so it's not necessarily working. But for Florida, where he wouldn't sign the executive order, were a majority in the counties where minorities are going to vote, and it's presumed that they're going to vote for President Obama.
Yes.
And that's what really scares me about what's going on with these voting.
Correct. And you're seeing all throughout the nation, the early voters, which just said the early voters would have been Republican, but the early voters in Colorado are Democrats. In Florida are Democrats. And those are, and even in Nevada, those are the swing states that can determine the election for President Obama.
And I understand that from some of the exit polling that he's leading, meaning he means the president. And so if that's the trend, it's going to be difficult to change the trend on election day.
But see, and that's the thing. I like the projections, but I also like the fact that Sandy came And Sandy now making the voters and the pundits anxious. So those people who thought Obama had it in the bag are going to feel motivated to get up and bring and vote. And I like that.
And that's why they didn't want a poll that said he was so far ahead. Because they're like, okay, well, I guess he's going to win, so I won't go to vote. I'm not glad that Sandy came through, but I'm glad that people are having their minds that I have to go out and make sure that he gets my vote.
But you see, I think a lot of it is media hype. There's no doubt in my mind that Obama going to win this election. I don't doubt that at all. I think a lot of it is media hype and is actually trying to boost ratings, and that's what's going on with a lot of the different newscasts and news stations. I really believe. Not that any of what you guys are saying are not valid.
I agree with you.
But a lot of it, I believe, is media hype.
But you see what the problem here with me, and you're right, it may be media hype, but the voters and the supporters who stood by President Obama in 2008, they took their eyes off the prize and they allowed people to start to chip away at their president and what he stood for. So when they were supposed to be pushing this president up and allowing this president to stand on the shoulders and being the men and women in the trenches defending this president policy, they went and kowtowed and allowed the Tea Partiers and everybody else to say, no, this president's policy makes no sense. The country's worse off. So by the year 2010, what did they do?
They lost the House.
Thank you. And it's because we lost faith. We need to have faith in our president. We need to be like soldiers and go to war for him and with him.
What do you think about how the Republican Party is treating Governor Christie of New Jersey? Because he gave a glowing recommendation and support to President Obama for what he did, which is what the president is supposed to do when there's a natural disaster in the country.
But see, I mean,
they felt he went too far.
No, I don't think he went too far. But
I don't.
But you think about
Republicans think
Governor Christie, I still have to think about the election next year. Because he's running for re-election next year.
I think he was thinking about the election for 2016.
Correct.
That's what I think.
But you're right. I don't want to go that far because he already noticed. He knows full well.
You can, no winner can be far right or far left.
Thank you. But if Obama wins, that means 4 years for him.
Right.
If Obama loses, that's 8 years or another 16 years for him.
Yeah.
So subconsciously he may be thinking about his praises were duly placed.
I agree.
President Obama exercised good judgment. He shows that he's a leader in tough times as well as good times.
Right.
And I can't argue with that.
But what I think was most poignant about and profound about that whole thing is the stark difference in the federal government's response to Sandy as opposed to the response to Katrina.
But my thing is, I don't want to compare.
No, you have to compare.
Compare.
Not the disasters, but compare the reaction, the response, I should say, to those disasters.
But if you think about it, the former presidency, the 8 years, they did poorly in terms of reacting to national disasters.
Yeah.
Whether it was September 11th or whether it was Katrina or other disasters, they only started to act a little bit better after Katrina. And that administration, when it came to natural disasters, didn't mobilize well.
Yeah. Other people say race had a big part to do with it. You don't think so?
I think there's a lot of factors having to do with it, because if you think about it, look, at no time in any election do we talk about Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. And I don't think it was race. It's political clout. In Katrina. It's political clout. Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi don't have that much electoral votes.
As much as I believe that George W. Bush was he ranks there as one of the worst presidents we ever had, one of the worst administrations we've ever had. I don't think he's innately a racist, or he just don't like. I would never go that far for him. He just didn't do a good job. I think he put faith in Mr. Brown, who was the head of FEMA at the time, who didn't know a Jesus Christ thing about what he was doing to lead an entire FEMA organization, and left it to his own devices. Because eventually, once he got involved, things started to move a little bit the way it should have moved.
Correct.
But he just led him to his own devices.
But think about this. If this was Texas, if this had hit Texas, if this had hit Florida, if this had hit New York, you'd have seen a lot more mobilization by the federal government. But then it's Louisiana. And I think at that particular time also, you had a Democratic governor.
Yes, she was.
A Democratic governor and a Democratic mayor of
That's correct.
Of New Orleans. And
That's
I
correct.
think more so it was to topple them. Because if you think about it, those two, one lost the election, and I think the other the mayor stayed on, but he eventually gave to Mitch Landrieu, eventually won 4 years later.
Yeah.
But they just showed that it was...
But it backfired.
Yeah, it did.
It backfired because you were supposed to blame her, the governor at the time of Louisiana, and nobody blamed her. Everybody blamed the federal government for the response to, because what ended up happening is you found out that she had in fact, well before the storm was near enough to Louisiana, requested a bunch of stuff from FEMA and a bunch of stuff from the federal government, and they didn't allow it. And then so now when it happened, even then after that, he still didn't move fast enough to the system. It was like 5 or 7 days later, I think, when the first support came to Louisiana. And so what you're seeing with Sandy is even before Sandy made her way to that area, it, for the most part, things were already set in place. Once she left, it was immediate that the federal government submitted everything to go in there, and not that many lives were lost that could have been lost.
Correct.
So the man was right to say he did an awesome job. That's exactly what he did.
He did.
But how dare you say that whoever comes up to an election, and he's the opposite guy.
That you're right. How dare he say that again? And that's it. How dare he?
And then he didn't want. They said, "Will you be willing?" And Fox, "Will you be willing to have Governor Romney come to tour the place with you?" He says, "Listen, the Governor Christie's a hot mess." He said, "Listen, I'm not into any presidential politics right now. 2.4 million people live in my state, and I gotta worry about them. So no." How dare you say you don't want Romney to come to tour New Jersey with you?
But think about it. Think about it. He may have just lost the Republican base, but he
gained the moderates.
Thank you. And those times, that's a larger pool of people than the Democrats and the Republicans.
Well, listen. By the time you see this show, it would have, President Obama would already be President Obama again. But I just want to make sure that people go out and vote. It's important.
It's important.
To go out and vote.
Like your life depends on it.
So you will know how. Well, next week on Wednesday's show,
we'll know how everything phase.
We'll know how everything phase out from there. So now let's talk a little bit about. Can we talk about the voter suppression issues? Let's talk about election preparedness. How prepared do you think we are locally for the election tomorrow? Because there's been this big confusion about the certification of the machines, who's doing paper, who's doing what. What do you think? How prepared are we for tomorrow?
I think we're as prepared as not as prepared as we should be, but as prepared as we're gonna be. I believe that we are. As far as the machines, we all know the Attorney General gave his opinion. And I said, I don't understand it either. But
I think whoever wrote the opinion that allowed the government to use the money on his private house wrote this one too, because it don't make any sense. and it's based. I don't know what law it's based.
But didn't they come out the same agency?
That's my point. That's my point. I don't know. I don't know the reason.
Keep in mind, too, this is the same one that prevented the governor from sending the Constitution to DC as well.
Exactly.
That opinion
all these opinions coming out that's based on nothing.
Anyway, what I was saying is that I think we're as prepared as we're going to be. And it seems as though, it appears as though, based on what I've been seeing and hearing, that they have everything in place as far as the machines and the paper ballots are concerned.
Well, I will be voting by paper.
I will too.
This time.
I heard they got like 6 different pieces of paper for you to vote or something. One for each section.
Right. You got to vote for each section. Well, you don't have to. But
no. But once you ask for paper ballot, they're going to
give because they can't put the whole ballot on one thing.
Right.
Please make sure you go with your pen
and you read.
And but you see, here's the problem. Remember, nobody's gonna see this. But here's my thing: treat the paper ballots like the self-checkout. If you don't know how to use self-checkout, leave the people in paper ballots alone and go use the machine. Because you end up mashing up your votes. You end up going in there, next thing you have a spoiled ballot and it goes someplace else. Don't go, if you can't read well, do not use the paper ballots. If you don't know how to read and put the stuff in order, to get stuff in order, leave the paper ballots alone. Go push the thing for this time alone and wait until 2014. Go. But I am voting by paper because there was confusion in the primary with those machines. I read very well. In fact, I read for a living.
Thank you.
And so I need to make sure.
But you see what you're talking about, and that's where those groups who advocate election reform and advocate voting paper should be out there and should have been out there educating the
Well, I think
populace.
They have been.
No, they have been.
Yeah.
They really have been.
They have
And they've
been
been on the radio going over it
Right.
even today.
And that's-
they spent a
Not
large
only that,
time going over
But they should-
they just recently got the paper ballots in
But-
place.
but they should
the
be-
one in place all along. It just the election.
And really, that's
But they should be at the
also-
polls. But
really
they should be at the
also
polls.
that's-
they're
as
going
well.
to be at the
But
polls.
all
really,
polls.
also, that's a job for the election.
That's
board.
right.
But see, that's the thing. It's a job for the election, but we know full well we cannot leave it up to our leaders in this community because they really don't lead, and they don't adequately prepare the people to make the right decisions, whether it's voting or whatever. So I think we have to take charge of this particular process, and which the people have been doing. If you notice, the people have been taking a lead in demanding election reform.
Oh, yeah.
And in advocating and doing election outreach. So, as you said, they're going to be out there tomorrow.
Yeah,
I encourage them that they're going to be as active as all other poll workers for all other campaigns, making sure that. So, how are you going to vote? Okay, and whether you vote in paper or what, they make sure to give them some information.
But
and
really,
let them know.
though, the election board should already issued out our ballots,
It should.
so we could see it.
Should
I think
not
by
wait till
law
last minute.
mandates that they submit our ballots so you can see your
Right.
ballot before you get to the polls.
Correct.
And so what they should have also done, because of paper ballot, should submit for you. You're gonna have 7 sheets. Sheet number 1 has the delegate. Sheet number 2 has the senators. Sheet number how are they gonna do it? I
They
don't
don't
know.
have a governmental station where they could be educating the public as well. What
You mean what
channel is that?
government station is
6?
that?
You want to how long for you to run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not a government station. That's the John D. Young administration station.
Yeah, that's
And so you only see on there what they allow you to see on there. Because this is North Korea, remember?
right. That's right.
So we don't get everything out. Okay. Well, this will be interesting. I can't wait for Wednesday's show. I really can, to see what happens and to see, as Senator Hansen will be the #1 vote getter.
Yes.
As you know, the TRO came out and Judge Gomez denied the TRO. I will say, however, I understand why he denied the TRO. I probably would have denied it too.
Yeah, let's say that.
Because it's 5 days before the election, then ballot don't print. So what's your injury? Especially since the complaint was filed already in September. Then ordinarily what you should do is when you file a complaint, you immediately file along with it your petition for TRO. And then the ballots would not have been printed then. Remember, it wasn't until the 28th that they even would have certified the primary election. So you had enough time to get a TRO to preclude it and get everything going. But filing it that late, I think,
But you see,
loaned itself to allow him
to do what
he did.
But we're good again. Leadership again, not taking. Someone need to at least come out and say if Senator Hansen should be in the ballot, and whether it's the board of election.
But that's not going to happen.
And see,
They already decided that she's going to be there.
Correct.
The only recourse at this juncture,
the voters.
well, that's what the judge said, which that's the part I don't agree with. I don't agree with him that you should tell the voters and the voters do what they want. No, that wasn't the issue. The issue is, as I understood the complaint, in addition to removing her from the ballot, which was the restraining order portion, they filed a declaratory judgment action, asking the court to declare that that crime is a crime of moral turpitude. So the court still have to rule on that, you know. And if the court rules that that's what it is,
And it's up to the
then at that point, then they can go back to the legislation and say, listen, we have a court ruling that says it's a crime of moral turpitude. And then elections have to immediately notify the legislature of this ruling, and the legislature then has to remove her.
But you see, my thing about it is, see, what the recourse is. You see how just like how we are mobilizing with this paper ballot, we as the population should have been mobilizing. So, okay, we don't like this. Because we know there's a month on a people that...
Population, we're not going to mobilize on Chucky Hansen.
No, we should be mobilizing
against
against Hansen. We go into the
But
what?
they won't.
But and that's the problem. Because if we are going to go
You
on
know
the
why?
stage and rah-rah,
But you know why?
why?
Because Chucky Hansen will support the masses of the people.
But see, no. See, that we call subterfuge. She don't really support them.
She does
We
She
know
right.
enable
that.
them.
Right.
And
we
that's
know
and I
that.
know that's what's up. She enables them. And another problem is our people are not. Let me know. I don't want to insult our people, but at times we
It's
think.
not that they're enabled, but what it is that they also have a mentality, a lot of them, as well,
A lot of
I'm
us.
getting this. Well, you're right, a lot of us, I'm getting this, so I'm good. Ain't bothering me.
See.
It's affecting you, but it doesn't directly affect me, so I'm good. And so I'm sorry you're not good. But it doesn't bother me because I'm hearing people saying, oh yeah, she'll fight for me. Explain to me how. What exactly? Because the last time I remember in 2010 when she ran, her whole campaign primarily centered on removing the LEAC. It was almost like this example I gave with Judy Fricks and this thing about her wanting to bring legislation to tell the judges you have to be detained. If you have a gun, you have to be detained if you commit a crime of violence. When it's already clear that the revised organic act doesn't allow that, so she could never do it anyway. It was like that. Chuck Hansen knows full well ain't a thing she could have done in that legislature to remove that LEAC. But she told you that, and you believe that she was going to do that. The LEAC move? In fact, the LEAC rise.
Yes, but and think about it, we allow her to behave worse than any other senator in recent history in the legislature. She run amok. She called people's names, she bullied people, even on the campaign trail. Her behavior was outrageous.
Everyone that disagrees with what she calls haters.
Thank you. And that's the problem right there. As a voter, I don't believe in that kind of behavior. I will not be supporting that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And I hope all the voters who are out there who are going to be supporting other candidates at least consider voting for other people, so they can have a way to push her out and other people that they don't want.
Well, Clint, let me tell you something. Here's my prediction. Alicia Chucky Hansen will be the number 1 or number 2 vote getter
you know that.
in 2012. And it is what it is. And then it's going to turn around and cost the people in Virgin Islands more money when the court have to rule that those crimes are crimes involving moral turpitude, and she has to be removed out of office, or let's go find somebody to go in her spot. That's how we do things.
So, based on what the two of you are saying, in my opinion, what's the root cause? Of people like this running and winning and becoming the number 1 vote getter.
Because we don't have criteria
but that's
for
my
who
point.
we put there.
I am trying to make a point, and my point is, when are we going to address the root cause? When are we going to address the issue? The issue is the people, and when are we going to deal with the people? That's what I want to do.
Let me give me a chance to segue into this.
Yes, segue.
When I went into the barber shop, a young lady asked me what do I think is the most pressing issues in the campaign. I tell her it's education and economy, just like that. She's telling me no, it's our borders. Our borders need to secure.
Borders, she said.
That to me, that's a low-hanging fruit. Everybody talking about borders. I said, no, it's education. If you take a good look around us, we are not raising up our community right.
No, exactly.
We're not talking about training, and we're not talking about preparation. And that's a challenge. I had to then go to the good book for some consultation. And
that's a good place to go.
Always a good place. You know,
I go there often.
Yeah, I was in church yesterday and I was so inspired. It's my minister really, he talked about putting God in the big box.
You know what? That was a good sermon.
That was a good sermon.
I must say, we go to the same church.
Yeah?
Yes, the Friedensburg Moravian Church in Frederickson, St. Paul.
And New Street in Frederickson. I'm a Moravian.
Yes. I'm a Moravian, so I need to serve him.
But he goes to the one in Christian.
You need to be inspired. He talked about making God the big box. Making God the big box, and not start compartmentalizing. Don't just keep God in the church box. Put God in the home box.
Or the work box, or the home box separately.
Put God in one big box, and then everything works out of that. And he said, in Proverbs 22:6, he said, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And that's the problem we have here in this community. We're not training our people up in the way that they should go. So we have all of these things going all over the place. This is acceptable, that is acceptable, and you know what it is? It becomes acceptable when money is involved and all of that stuff. And it erodes our business. Thank you.
And you're gonna get something. I put a Facebook thing the other day when I said I was gonna pack up and go on with business. I was really upset about that. You know me going away. And Marlene ain't going away. So I'm mainly leaving her here by herself. What upset me is the fact that you can look at people who should know better. You know they should know better, and they do know better, but it's not bothering them. They're getting something from it. So it's okay that you are being affected negatively by conduct of others because it don't affect them.
And think about it. If you're not so inclined to listen to God, think about what Martin Luther King said. A people that don't stand for something who fall for anything. And that's what we are doing. We are falling for anything, and we are crumbling around in our community. So I say it's education and training first.
But what he just said, it caused me to think about people I had conversations with, and these people that you have some sort of respect
for them.
You understand, because they got all of this education and all of these degrees, and you hear them support things like Diageo, support things like Mafuligate. I'm amazed, and I'm sitting and I'm looking at these people, and these people I once had held in the high service.
And that's
and we're talking about education, but what kind of education? I mean, these are educated people, or lettered people is what I'm talking about.
Actually, no, we need to educate our people. Continue to encourage them to go to degrees, get vocational training, yes. But we need to start to train them at home. Right is right. And if you do not do right, you will get
but here's the
big
problem.
stick.
I think that there's those people know that right is wrong. They know right from wrong.
Yes.
But they're receiving something. Somebody asked me the other day if I was going to Bull and Bread. And you know Bull and Bread, for those who may not know, Liberty Day, D. Hamilton Jackson Day, a day when we support liberty, our freedoms. And D. Hamilton Jackson led that cause. I mean, at 30 years old, he went to Denmark to fight for our right to a free press, to be able to say what we have to say and do what we needed to do. He was a lawyer, a journalist, wonderful things, a judge, and really fought, a labor leader, fought for people. And so they asked if I were going to Bull and Bread, which is in Grove, as you know, it happens every year. And my response to him was, D. Hamilton Jackson is in there, and there's nobody in Grove like D. Hamilton Jackson I need to see. So no, I don't need to go to Bull and Bread. You know why? Because the feeling of what you should have, this government and this administration will never be able to get away with the things that they're getting away with if people like D. Hamilton Jackson was still around.
Thank you. 1916.
You understand my point?
And that's the challenge here.
Yeah.
Our people are standing for anything.
Yeah. Because they're getting something, and they're getting something, and when I look at our native sons and daughters who's sitting down defending this crap, it's like you're selling yourself to the highest bidder, and selling us out to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder aren't us.
But you see, and we continue to do that every day.
Yeah, we do.
Every day. And I say and that's the challenge we face right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be back in a moment. Back in a moment. And we are back here discussing some hot topics. And when we went to break, we were talking about this issue of how, you were saying that, you see people who you respect, and you're wondering, why are they behaving this way?
Right.
Why are they defending conduct that you know is wrong? And I really can't fathom it. And I've always said that when this administration is over with, the people who've been all up in there, what community they plan to live in, and who they plan to hang around, really, when they sat there and allowed this kind of confusion to go on, and for people to be stomped into their throats and said and did nothing.
But take a good look. The universe is right in itself, and they allowed these things because they actually are standing up for something that really they know is against what they believe in, and they're encouraging it. And we look at our community. Our community is deteriorating all around us. Look in our churches, look in our schools, look at our hospitals, look at our families. And our families are being affected every day. And that's where the scourge is. Crime is a direct result of this. That our kids, our children, and the rest of the community are realizing that anything goes. That don't matter, money and name and prestige buys what? It can buy you, it can buy your innocence. It can also avoid prosecution, and it can allow you to do things that you will never be allowed to in other jurisdictions on the American flag or internationally.
Well, you're saying on the American flag, but I'm sorry, I believe we're reflecting now. It's manifesting. It's becoming clear and clearer to me that we're reflecting the American way of life. Because this is the same thing that I run away from. Don't get me wrong, I'm not American bashing. I don't hate America. I respect and understand the principles that she's supposed to stand for. But I lived abroad for 7-8 years, and I had opportunities and I had education and all of that, and I decided to come home. I could have stayed away, but I decided to come home, and I was coming home from that. I was running because of that particular mindset that I'm seeing currently today in my own community. And I believe that's exactly what going on. We started to just reflect those who are in charge.
I see, and I will go to point is that I think is we in here are doing the damage more so.
Yeah,
than,
of course we are.
Because, for instance, Emile has the iPad in front of him. If my son or daughter comes home with it, I may not ask them where they get it from. They may just come in and just go upstairs with it. That's just an example.
Yeah.
Way back then, you don't bring that in my home. Who does that belong to?
Absolutely. Carry it back.
Man,
who'll bring it for you?
thank you. And you take it back, and when you come back, you get blacks on top of that.
Of course.
And those are the things. And we sat here and you asked, how is a 13-year and a 14-year-old allowed to shack up with a man?
Well, you know, I'm still a little
Stunned with
that, right?
But that,
I still trying to get over that one.
once upon a time, you used to sneak that kind of thing. No, it's happened blatantly.
Not we.
No, okay.
Definitely
We won't get there.
not we.
But that was something that was done in the darkness at night. Let me phrase it a lot better. But no, it's right there in the sunlight.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the problem. We don't need to hide anymore. Anything is acceptable in our community. And that's why I keep going back to education, training and preparation.
No, you know what?
And value.
I'm glad you said that because I think, did we do a show? Were you here? I'm not sure. Maybe you were. When they were talking about having the shower, a baby shower at, where was it? We were talking about some young children. Or was it last week when we did the show and the lady from Women's School was saying, you know, they have to do showers, whatever. And I said I wasn't doing it. I wasn't coming to it. And it reminded me of you, but I'm trying to remember.
I think we did it here.
We did it here?
Yeah, I think we did a show here. It wasn't with her, with somebody else.
Okay.
And I said, well, they're going to have a baby shower. I said, I wasn't going to come with it. I think you said it.
Okay.
It makes no sense.
But that's what's going on.
And I said, that's the problem.
Men going to baby shower?
No.
But men could be, men can go to
Baby showers for 14 and 15-year-old girls that that went and had children out of wedlock.
Okay,
to me, there's nothing wrong in
I would
you.
go to a baby shower.
Yeah, but I would not.
I've been to a few.
I had an issue with it before. When I talk about baby shower, I was invited. I said only woman of a baby shower.
No,
I was properly.
No, but if you graduate from high school,
I wouldn't go to a wedding shower.
and you're having
but I
a
would go to a
child,
baby shower.
I would. Yeah, I understand. I would go to a baby shower. But if you're 14 and 15 in high school,
not doing
no,
I'm not
I have
doing
no.
that
I believe the parents. Yes, you have all right to take care of your grandchild. You have all right because no, you don't want.
Supporting the fact that a minor is having a
child. Yeah, and then you're gonna baby. No, why do you baby? This is your responsibility. I'm gonna teach you to be a responsible parent. You brought this child into the world. You're gonna take care of it. You're gonna complete your education. I'm gonna teach you how to be responsible. But there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to babysit a child so you can go out and frolic with your friends.
No, I wish Natalie was here because what I would also institute is a 1 week on, 1 week off.
With the father.
So if it's my daughter, the child will be here for a week and then the next week I go to Natalie's house.
You know,
and stay for a week by Natalie's house.
Natalie, you know,
yeah.
that feel
You're
like
right. You're right.
People honestly believe that, oh, well, I'm glad I got a boy child because I don't have to deal with that. Even though the boy child is the reason why.
I think I'm blessed with the 3 children I do have. 2 girls and a boy. And I think I put as much pressure on all of them because I discuss with them expectations. I continue to remind them that, you know, Daddy's doing all of this for you guys. This is your world, this is your time. And I have great expectation to you. I'm not going to say, oh, because you're black, because you're boy, because you're girl. No. I expect you're going to be great. And great in whatever you do.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to encourage them to do. Be great. If you're going to be a janitor, be great.
Right.
But be a janitor that has a master's degree because you like to clean and that's what you feel comfortable at doing. But at least make sure you're credentialed in something. So if you choose to do whatever, you have no problem.
I'm blessed with the children I have too. Which are all godchildren I can take back to their parents. Yeah. I can have you for a time, and then when I've had enough, then I'll drop them back off to who they belong to. Good to go.
I have something else to offer. Since we're done there, it's all about leadership. Can I offer something about leadership?
Sure.
And I also went to the good book again for this. Because yesterday, I tell you, I was so inspired by the scripture that Reverend Christopher gave.
Yes.
And he quoted Colossians 3:17.
Yep.
And then he referred to Colossians 22 and 23.
Right.
And I read the chapter this morning, and then I ended up at chapter 4, verse 1 of Colossians.
Right.
And it reads, it's like this: Masters, give your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that ye also have a master in heaven. And think about that. It may be speaking about leadership. Some of us think it's servant. No, it's not about servitude, but if the people that you're tasked with leading, be fair and just to them. do, just like I said, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Because you know full well there's a God in heaven who is the master of you as well. So if you're going to be unfair to the people that you're supposed to be serving, don't you think he's going to be also unfair and unjust to you?
That's how I read it.
And that's what I'm encouraging the leaders to do. Think about that. That when you're leading, be fair, be just. Put yourself in the God box and look through and ask yourself straight, rightfully, how would I like to be treated? How would Jesus Christ do this? And if I continue, and if I profess to be a Christian,
have to believe in Jesus Christ.
Yes, and if I profess to be a Christian, and if I profess to believe that there's somebody greater than me, what does the rule of the universe say? I do believe it says, be fair, be just. Treat each one fairly.
The rule of the universe that we just said before, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. That's the golden rule. In every religion, that's the golden rule.
But what I wanted to look up, because as you said that, because I've always, I don't have the Rotarians have this 4-way test.
Yes.
And as you know, I don't believe that I have the discipline to be in the Rotary. Because you have to do certain things at a certain time, arrive at certain places at time, whatever. My profession don't allow me to appear to every place and time. And I will be paying fees left, right, and center. So I don't need to join the Rotarians right now in my life. But they have a 4-way test that I think is so important. And it says, 1, is it the truth?
Correct.
2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So if every legislator, when the things come before them, would ask themselves that question, even if you come to a decision that is not a decision that I would like, if that's what you really in your heart believe, I'm okay with it.
But see,
you had that to present to
I should have. I didn't think about that till you just said it.
But think about it. Don't just apply to the legislature, because we're not just voting for the legislature.
Any leader.
Board of Elections, Board of Education, the legislature, even the administration, government house. If they would apply that rule and the Bible to each and their use, I think we'd be a better community.
I think they should implement that from school time. They can't wait until you're an adult to start to talk about
but
it. But this is part of the education you're talking about. I think, so that means you need to revamp the whole system.
No, but think about this. How many young people and parents who are raising children who don't expose their children to church on a weekly basis?
Exposing them to church and exposing them to the Bible and the interpretation is two different things.
No, but at least putting spirituality and a foundation.
It doesn't go away from you.
No.
Now you know full well your mother put you in the church house.
I know full well.
So
I know full well. You want to talk about me?
No,
I can tell you. Let me tell you personally.
Okay, go ahead.
I went to church religiously every Sunday. My parents didn't go. That was the first thing. That was the first issue. Because I was like, well, in any child, how come I got to go and you don't go? So that was the first thing.
Okay.
I couldn't wait to go to church. As a matter of fact, when I was starting to get older, teenage, right? I talking 13, 14, going out years, partying years. Sunday morning when I got to go up to sleep, I sleeping in the church. You understand? Right. So in other words, I ain't learning nothing at any church.
Right.
It wasn't until I get older and I started to seek for myself. Whenever I went through any kind of hardship or anything, or whenever I fall on a low, I'm talking about not on a low.
How did you know to go there?
I didn't go there. I didn't go to the church.
No, not the church. Go to a spiritual base in a spiritual center.
Because the base was there.
Because the base was there.
The prayers were there.
Right,
the prayers, not necessarily the church itself.
Who gave you the foundation?
But let's understand something. The issue with religion isn't about the 4 walls that you go to.
Right.
At least this is my opinion. It's about the 4 walls that you go to. Because you can have church, the 3 of us right in here, and be just fine with it. You don't have to go to a building where 2 or 3 are gathered. Then that's where you appear. So where you have the foundation set for you, it doesn't matter how long you stay away from it. You're going to find a way back, or you're in your mind, you're going to know inherently something about what I'm going to do is not right. Even if you still do it, you know it's not right. I think what Clint was saying, and I agree, is they don't even get that foundation to know to go back to that place.
Let me put it to you. Even if you're in Islam, you go up in an Islam household, a Muslim, you're taught about the rules of the religion. You're taught that God, there's one supreme being, and He sets the rule. That man is not at the top of the food chain. God is up there. And you see, those rules are no longer in place. Look at the heinous crime that we see keep going. And I keep saying this back to, we're not teaching our children and our community about the things that really matter. God really matters. Being spiritual really matters. Loving one another really matters. And then that may seem idealistic, and sometimes we may stray away. Yeah, you're right. We may stray away, but we also must remember that sometimes when we are in our deepest hour, we can call upon Him, and we say, okay, and He centers us, and He said, okay, yes, all isn't lost. And I think that's where our community has strayed away from. That we stop believing in God and believing that there's somebody greater. And we believe men are at the top of the food chain, so we are running amok in our little Virgin Islands.
We don't have prayer in the schools anymore?
No. You're not allowed to have prayers. You're not allowed to have prayers in schools because it's separate state. However, we can tell the women if they can't have abortions.
Correct. And that's
because the Catholic Church saying good.
Correct.
Wow.
And that's the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And let me put it to you. That's a religion. We tend to want to hide in these large groups, and that's why I love to go to my small church, because if I go here and sit down, and the other day I'm up there doing some sort of wrongness, I can't hide because my members know who I am, my pastor knows who I am, so I can't sit to hide. I can't. These large mega churches, I don't believe give me the love and the nurturing that I need, and that's why I go down to Friedensburg and New Street in Frederickson, where the pastor is Reverend D&T Christopher,
yes,
and the Ministry of Education, Linton Christopher. That's where I go because I feel it nurtures.
And we missed you for Love Feast on Sunday.
So we're going to invite you to come.
So this is the first time I ever invite me any place.
Stop it. Your mother and I was there. Stop it. You just didn't show up and you partying Saturday night.
No, not on.
But I agree with you. I think there still should be a level of spirituality in all of your decision making. And
it goes back even to Genesis when he also said, "Be fruitful and multiply," and he said, and he didn't but even though it doesn't mean
they do take it the wrong way.
It doesn't just mean procreation.
They take a lot of things the wrong way.
We need to rear up our community, teach them. If you don't have a child, you're supposed to teach them and bring them up in the way that they should go.
Bring me your catch. Remember that's
and that was someone before.
That's what the Genesis is really talking about.
Because we just spoke about 13 and 14 and 15 years. Who teaching the parents?
And that's the problem. And that's where we come in. We must teach our friends. We must encourage our friends that I know you're struggling, but this is not the right thing to do as a parent.
So each and every one of us.
Each and every one of us. We must be our brother's keeper, and we must encourage them.
Judgmental.
We can't be judgmental, but we must encourage them. And I think we become too envious of each other at times. We don't encourage.
We do.
If you have $50,000, I'm not ashamed of your $50,000. I'm going to applaud you. If you get a big job, I'm going to encourage you and say, I'm going to be happy for you. And I'm going to hope that you exercise the right restraint and responsibility that comes with having wealth and having power. And that's what some of us don't. We don't know how to exercise restraint and discipline.
Don't do what you are saying we should do, because I am going to say from 2007, that's my position with this administration, has come into the Virgin Islands and created a climate of, if I disagree with you, I don't like you.
Yes, I don't like you and you're gone.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with disliking you. It means I just don't agree with you.
Correct.
I can disagree with you and still like you.
Right.
It just means I don't agree with your position.
Right.
Here, there's now a climate where if I disagree with a decision you've made, somehow I want to tear you down, somehow I hate you, and you're now on a hate list.
That's before this the administration.
But it's become completely latent now with this administration. And it's very blatant, very clear.
And I think our young people are dumb, and I think parents, they see who are some of the supporters of these same administrators, and some of them wear the collar around their neck.
Yeah.
Some of them go and sit in the pews on Sunday morning and tote the Bible, and they are in full support, and they also carry out some of the actions of this administration. And that's where we say we need to be consistent. And I'm going to say this. I don't profess to be the perfect Christian. I think I'm working towards this relationship.
There is none.
There's none.
I don't care what anybody says. Other than Jesus, there is no perfect Christian. There is no perfect Christian.
And I'm working on this relationship. And one thing I'm realizing is that I'm not going to fall short each time, but I'm realizing that I must start to practice what I preach. I must be the light in myself that I want to see in the world.
Right.
And if I am going to go to church and sit in the pews, I better get something and I'll share it with everybody else.
You're a work in progress.
Correct. And this is what I'm sharing with with the people out there on the internet. I want them to realize that.
What is important, and I think we miss, and Narcisse and I have had this conversation many times. What's important is that we understand that there is a New Testament for a reason.
Correct.
And there are really only 2 commandments really that has made its way from the old one to the new one that we're supposed to follow. And we talked about that also on Sunday, where you're supposed to love him, right, with all your heart and all your mind, and love your neighbor. That's it. It's presumed that if you did that, then you would also not steal, covet your neighbor's wife or husband or whatever it is. You wouldn't do those things. And we had this new covenant, or this New Testament, because we realized that we would never be able to comply with all the rules that were in the Old Testament. And so, if you follow those 2 things, your decisions are going to be based on something completely different. And the way you treat people, the way you treat people will be differently. You won't want harm for your neighbor if you truly love your neighbor. You see, so it's a work in progress. People are not going to, we're not Jesus Christ. And so we can't be perfect at everything. But as my grandma used to tell me, only you and Jesus can be in the room. And so you figure what you're going to tell him when you reach there. Correct. And that's how I have to take it. I don't have to agree with your decisions, but at the end of the day, you alone will be in the room and you will attest for your own sins or whatever it is you did, and you and God will figure out whether you'll go up there or you'll go down there. That's how I feel about abortions. Correct. I don't support abortions, but I support your right if you want one. And then if you want to have one, then at the end of the day, you go figure out with God why you did what you did, and whether or not it's a sin that he can forgive for you or whatever you did. But I don't believe the government getting so involved in people's lives that they can tell you what you should or should not do about your life based on spirituality.
Correct, and that's where good leadership comes in. You see the kind of discussion we're having here? I have no problem if our leaders have this kind of discussion and they put it in these sort of a context. And when you come out and you tell me your reasoning, why you went with the Diageo deal, are you going to go with that deal? Are you going to increase taxes on the people? And you can
come informed.
Thank you. And you let me know that I cannot disagree with you.
Just now, you can see clearly where they come with the Diageos and all that. I think it's a selfish movement.
And it's
all about me, and how I could get and to help develop my life or to help empower me personally and not the masses of the people. And decisions like that are being made continuously nowadays.
And we are hoping that this show, as well as other people who are going to start to hold these people accountable and say, no, we want you to be the change that you speak about, and we're going to hold you accountable. And we're going to continue to tell you when you fall short.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Well, here's one of this. Here's one of the decisions.
Because of dissatisfaction, and that's what I had to.
Today, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we're going to say dissatisfaction. In until the masses of people are dissatisfied, that's when change will come about. When you had enough and when you're sick of it, that's when change will happen. And that's what we're starting to see. Because a lot of people starting to push back, more so now than ever, that I've ever seen before. So.
Well, today I saw in the paper today that the 1F Louis Hospital has decided to temporarily close the psychiatric ward.
Yes.
And so that all our mentally ill people will have no place to go. But I understand, I saw one of my posts that one of the board members said that they can still come, and what they will do is, if they are crazy, after evaluated, they will send them off to Schneider Hospital in St. Thomas, or to a place in the States. But I didn't get a chance to respond to ask, well, who will pay for them to go to Schneider or to the States.
Correct.
But it goes to this, and we talked about it, and it was on my page, and I brought it up. We have a building by Anna's Hope, where they used to have the YRC people. Right. Why couldn't they fix that place up and use that as a psychiatric ward, a mental institution, to place people in, so that we can have some place for them? What's the reason today, of all the reasons to shut down the psychiatric ward, from people being able to come there?
But see,
even they're saying it's because to get their ratings back up.
But think about this, Emile. That plan that you're talking about only comes into play when it's somebody's family member of some worth in this community, and everybody's of worth, but somebody that I think is affluent and with some level of power, that's when they're going to start to see, oh, let's do that, because of the cost for that family member are being placed someplace else. That's when we're going to scurry and put together a haphazard plan to find some sort of an annex
Yeah, but you know
to
what,
put that
though?
facility.
On my Facebook page, somebody brought this up on my Facebook page because I had the question up there, and it made sense. The governor's sister-in-law suffered from mental illness, and she was a big proponent of dealing with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have thought that that would have been something really big that you would want to push, even from a personal level, to ensure that the mentally ill in our community, because we have a lot of mentally ill people in our community, that there's some place for them, to get them to a place where they can be a part of this community without having to, you know.
But think about it. Nixon's wife, I forgot her name, and she had an addiction. The Ford. It was the Ford.
Yeah, the Betty Ford thing, right? Gerald Ford's wife.
Gerald Ford, wife, the president. Now think about a facility like that named after Lisa Gallagher.
Right.
And a foundation can be started up, and it can be erected, and it can be a rather prestigious institution, and it's another factor to our tourism product and to boost our economy.
Come here.
Yeah,
because you know what happens now? What happens now is they come from the States, drop the crazy woman down to Henry Wilson, and then you see them walking up and down the street.
Thank you.
With no family, and they're just up and down in the street.
But how much grant monies are out there for those people, for those kind of things?
Who's looking? Well, you know what we should do? We should invite Miss Plaskett, Doris Plaskett, who is a new commissioner of health, or will be the new commissioner of health, to come on the show and talk about what plans that there may be to bring a psychiatric ward here.
No,
or maybe DHS.
What we should do, we should bring all the commissioners to our program.
We should.
And talk about,
if they let them.
Yeah, for the next 2 years, what is the plan? Because I'm going to tell you straight out. I listened to Beverly Nichols Doty today on the radio, and I applaud her that she's embracing regional issues, because regionally we have similar issues, and when it affects Dominica, St. Kitts and other areas, eventually may affect us.
Right.
But if you think about it, our tourism product is still the same tourism product that we've been pushing for the last 10, 15 years. Yes, we have seen some little glimmers of hope in some areas, but beyond that, it's still the same tourism product. Cruise ship, there's no investment in the infrastructure, like working with the different landmarks and whatnot to bring them up. And I think we need to talk about what is the plan for the next 2 years and 5 years for the Virgin Islands. Whether it's tourism, health, or what?
First, they need to realize that St. Croix is different or unique in its own, different from St. Thomas. And the marketing St. Croix, they're trying to market St. Croix like how they do St. Thomas. And in my opinion,
well, I think they've kind of changed how they do that now. I don't think they're doing it like they used to before.
But
you're right. Before, it was straight up tourism, whatever St. was doing, St. Croix would have to do.
Yeah.
And I think, to her credit, and even to Pamela Richardson's credit, I think it started with her, that to make the differentiation that St. Croix is a completely different kind of place.
But with the investment in infrastructure, look at Key West. You look at the CNN, and Key West is advertising heavy. You want to know if that's a place in the Caribbean. And we're worrying about the other Caribbean destinations. We need to start to worry at Key West and those places, because those places are really taking away the tourists from our...
We better get something together before
Cuba opens up.
And that, because it'll be a detriment to all Caribbean.
So my thing about it, we need to be investing in the infrastructure. I mean, all of these things, and I've not seen tourism talking about, oh, wait a minute, we need our plan intersects DPNR's plan and intersects public works in terms of what they're doing with the roads and all of these different things, because things are changing.
That requires a plan from the top.
Correct.
A clear plan.
Correct.
From the top to dictate to everybody else, this is what I hope to see, with the tenet or the hope that everybody will benefit.
So we will get
from
that for the next
but we're
2
not,
years.
we have to wait until 2015.
It's a haphazard plan. Everything is haphazard. We're not seeing any connectiveness in what we're doing.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. The Attorney General's opinion dealing with what the place name? Judith Fancy.
Oh.
Another stellar opinion coming out of the Attorney General's office. Based on nothingness.
Yes, correct, because I truly want to know what document he's citing that lends him to make this decision.
I'm trying to figure out, because in what parallel universe, we must be living in a parallel universe. Because where in the United States flag can I, as a private person, go buy land, where there's a public access road to it and take it from the government and make it mine.
No, but and you're telling me, no, I need to ask you this question.
He's
That
saying
road-
based on the U.S. Constitution.
No, he's saying they're based on the revised organic act.
But look at the road.
And he's then saying through the U.S. Constitution they have a right to protect their property.
Right.
I agree with him.
Of
If
course.
it's yours.
But where does the road end and does the road begin?
The road begins at Judith's Fancy.
No!
I'm sorry.
The road begins by
the gas
Chocolate
station.
Bar.
Thank you. Right there by the internet.
He is trying to say that the road ends at that gate. I mean, the public road ends at that gate, and that all the rest was bush.
He is absolutely incorrect.
If you look at the cadastral papers,
That's right.
That road goes to the beach.
What was the road again? 4H or something like that?
4H. It goes straight to where the beach
Of
ends.
course. So he's
and
wrong.
so you have land here and land here.
But see,
so if you're
again,
driving on the main road and your house is there, I can be able to make a right to go there. What ends up happening is the Judas fancy people put up this thing and just stopped you from being able to go through. And so he is now trying to say that that road, which is the public access road 4H, ends where that gate is.
No.
And because all the rest is private property, they have a right to the private property.
No,
well, the other
absolutely
problem
not.
is adverse possession don't apply to the government.
Right.
So I can't adversely possess the government road ever. It's theirs forever. Now they can take your stuff from you, but you can't take from them.
So you're telling me? Now at times I've questioned decisions that come out of the Attorney General office. It seems that they tend to rule on behalf of against the people each and every time, compelling the people to utilize their resources and go before.
Here's what this Attorney General opinion says: you can access the beach as long as you get to the beach from the ocean.
That makes no
That's
sense.
exactly what this opinion is saying. Because what is to stop everybody else from not? This opinion allows everybody else who live on the beach to stop everybody from coming on their property. So what he is saying is you are allowed public access to the shoreline. Okay, well if you got a boat and you can get around to the ocean to come to from the ocean to the shoreline, then you can go. But what's to stop not that they'll do it, but what's to stop Clear Roker at Dorsch Beach from putting up a fence and saying, because that's her land, it's her land, from saying, nope, I don't want it on my land. That's cut off right there. There are actual owners to people on that beach behind that leaves Sandcastle and goes to Second Target, whatever. What if they put up a whole fence and stop and say, yeah, I can't go there? What about estate choice? They can close it off as well. What he is saying is you're entitled to the shoreline. So you can get there, you just can't come through my land. So go on the boat and come across to the water. So what has to happen is those people need to go to the people courthouse, file a lawsuit, and let the court correct that confusion. Whereas this opinion remains law until a court changes it or the legislature changes it.
More power to Judge Frazier.
To Judge who? Please. You see, he then turned around and said that the election machines are okay because there was no funds appropriated for it. He's mixing something up. I can't enter into a contract because if I don't have the appropriation for it, or I don't have a funding source, the contract isn't legal. But the law is the law. The law says you can't use them machines, so they shouldn't really be there. But
quickly, because of time, you could explain to us, are you familiar with the whole treaty between the Denmark and the US?
Which one?
With
For which part?
Regarding the same thing with Judas Fancy and the King's Road. The King's Road not being able to be bought.
Right.
That's a fact.
All that happened is that whatever the law was at the time,
and we all know that Judas
turned
Fancy was an estate.
Right. They turned everything over to the United States government.
Right.
So whatever rights Denmark had relative to those rules have gone over to the United States government as a public access road. So we're gonna pull the opinion, and next week we're gonna talk about that for sure. Okay? We'll be back in a moment.
Oh, we have 3 minutes to...
Okay, rolling in 3, 2.
And welcome back. Very insightful show tonight. So let's talk about what our predictions are for this upcoming election. Clint, let's start with you.
Me, I don't say what I would like to see. I spoke about my 10 possible picks, and I'm going to vote for 7 out of those 10. What I want to see tomorrow, I want to see the Virgin Islands people go in and compel, encourage some sort of change. Because I think we're in desperate need of some change in the Virgin Islands. Okay. And that's what I like to say.
You?
Okay, I think we're in a very unique position, being that St. Thomas is removing 5 of the senators. We're St. Croix in a position to take the lead, take the helm, what I would like to see, not necessarily what I believe will happen, but what I'd like to see is for the three to go back. We don't have a party already that do their own thing. Neville, I think those three, because they're already working together and have a team, and then 4 new ones. I would like to see 4 new ones, and 4 new ones who have the strength and the passion and the drive for St. Croix to do that. I would like to see that.
My prediction is that Barack Obama is going to win. And that Chucky has to be number 1 vote getter or number 2 vote getter. And there'll be and there'll be some new people. Yeah, but show me that line. And there'll be some new people. And our last prediction is that Clint's birthday was this past weekend, right? On Saturday. And so, happy birthday to Clint.
Thank you very, 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 very much.
Please be sure that you send him a message on Facebook wishing him a happy birthday.
Oh, the thing. Thank you much, Nikki.
Wishing him a happy birthday. That was Nikki, our producer, whose birthday was also last week.
Oh, happy belated.
Oh, her birthday's on Wednesday.
Oh,
all right.
Wednesday coming?
Yes, so all these school girls are amazing.
And my daughter's birthday is tomorrow, so I'm going to tell her happy birthday.
All right. Well, it's been a wonderful show. We will see you on Wednesday as we review all that occurred for election 2012. Remember, go out and vote as if your life depends on it, because your voice can make a difference. Good night, everybody.
Thank you guys very much. Wow, let me try this dessert.